All right. Here we go. Look at everybody coming on in here.
Hey, Maggie.
How are you doing, Mark?
I am great as can be. And you?
I'm pretty fantastic. We've got a good conversation going. I know we've got a good group of people coming in. It looks like we have our numbers are increasing. So we'll give everybody a minute or so to hop in. And as you're coming into the meeting here, this is a webinar format. So go ahead, use the chat feature here. Let us know where you're visiting from. If you're in an office situation where there's several of you together, feel free to go ahead and put that in the chat. And we've got folks popping on. Good deal. I know we have some branch leaders that are here. So that tells me that we probably have some groups together. There you go. Hey, Amy.
It's my friend Amy Overcash.
Yay.
Jan Rector. Wow, all my old buddies are coming on.
That's it. Winston-Salem's in the house. Oh, very good, Barbara. I like that. Got the puppies. Puppies are watching. That's good. Excellent. So we've got some folks coming in here. So good. Well, let's go ahead. Let me give you all a quick, some housekeeping items. Remember that we are in webinar mode, and so you want to be sure to use the chat feature to say hello, give a shout out. You can also use the Q&A section. So if you have a question for Mark today, then be sure to use that Q&A section so that the question doesn't get lost in the chat. And you also have the reactions buttons there. So go ahead and give us a thumbs up or a wave the hand, so we know that we've got all of the reactions there.
Please be sure to wave with all 5 fingers.
All 5 fingers. That's it. Don't give the what was it? The 1 finger salute. We don't want to do that. I don't think that's an option. That's not an option. So that's good news. Here we come. There they are floating into the screen. If y'all remember the one that Phyllis and I did, it was Tate Talk last Monday, Mark. Phyllis and I were talking, all of a sudden hearts started floating up through the screen. I'm like, oh, where are those coming from? It was really funny.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, that was funny. So good. So we've got that. Now, are you Mark or are you, what's the guy's name? Jim Cantori?
Oh, Jim Cantori from the Weather Channel.
Yeah. So this is a first ever. Mark Bardo is actually down in Florida in the eye of the hurricane. Maybe not the eye. Is the eye there?
No, we'll call it the bullseye. The eye is about 20 miles north of me, and we've got winds of probably 60, 70 miles an hour and a lot of rain. But I'm excited to be here today in the middle of a hurricane.
Yes. So we want you to know that that's where he is, because even while he and I were getting ready to hop on, the lights are flickering a little bit. So if power goes out, he should be good to go. He's on his MiFi. So he's got that all set. So Mark, we really appreciate you being with us today, even though there's the big storm that's around.
Happy to be here. It's a great distraction.
Awesome.
Maggie, you know what occurred to me? The last
What?
2.5 years, almost 3 years, have been this incredible market where there was no such thing as marketing properties.
Absolutely.
We weren't marketing agents. We were just listing agents.
That's right. That's right. And so that's why I have you here today, Mark. I have you here today. Who all, you can go ahead and do a raise hand, not a raise hand, but a thumbs up if you've been on some of our other webinars this month. We've talked about the options for sellers that we can provide to help them. We've had conversations around the pricing conversation. Stephanie Gossett talked about, it's been a while since. That was a fantastic webinar with some of our leaders. And then Mark is here today to talk about marketing and really the maximum exposure that you all offer, that Allen Tate offers to the seller. And Mark is going to continue the same theme that we've had through all of them, which is our words have to change when the market changes. So as a market shifts, we have our processes, which are great, but we also get into the rhythm of the words that we say and the phrases that we say. And so, Mark, are you going to be able to give them some words and phrases for,
I promise,
a market that is going to be going towards more of a balanced market?
We're going to walk away. And I'm going to ask everybody to pull out a pen and a piece of blank paper, because I think that we will have at least 5 or 10 different phrases, words, takeaways that you can use with sellers on what I refer to as the job interview. You know, that listing appointment, that marketing appointment, the marketing consultation, all those phrases that we use, it all boils down to one thing. I'm on a job interview and I've got other candidates for the job. And I think the most important thing, and I'd ask this to be the first thing you write down, is to convey to the seller, either directly or indirectly, that you are not a listing agent. Allen Tate agents, great Allen Tate agents, you are not a listing agent. You are a marketing agent. And there's a big difference between what a marketing agent does and what a listing agent does. And Maggie, I think we can, let's go ahead and spend about the next 3 hours and we can talk about that. We can be done by about 4.
He's just kidding. It's not the
Yeah.
next 3 hours, not the next 3 hours. Mark, I'm going to let you take it away from here.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share screen, and we're going to start talking quickly about giving your seller the maximum exposure. So as Maggie and I started off, the last 2.5 years, especially, has been what I call an order taking process. When you get a listing, you do your best to kind of get it ready. That wasn't even that important, because even if it was a POS, it sold the same day. And really your job as a listing agent for the last 2.5 years was to negotiate 5 offers, oftentimes 10 or 15 offers in the first day, and then navigate through the process of identifying what is the best offer and then how do I get that from contract to close. I had a conversation with an agent the other day who was very concerned that that property had been on the market for 6 days and had not yet received an offer and only had 2 showings. And I reminded that agent that back in 2008, 9, and 10, the really tough years in our industry, it took us 6 to 9 months to get a listing sold. And if it was a luxury listing in a market that was moving more slowly, sometimes it was 18 months to sell a house. We got to the point over the past 2.5 years where we were selling a house in 18 minutes. So we're going to get back to the point now where it might take us 6 weeks to actually sell a house. So if you would write these 2 words down for me: setting expectations. I think those are critical things. A critical strategy to communicate to your seller is we've got to set proper expectations. So words like, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, your property, your home may not sell in the first week. We may not get showings in the first week. We may not get an offer in the first week, but that's perfectly normal. And the good news is we are back to what I call a normal market. So let's talk about a few things. Come on screen for me. Sorry about the lights flickering. We're going to talk about merchant.
Uh-oh. I think Mark, did anybody else, is Mark frozen? Uh-oh. No, come back to us. Let's see. I wonder if he just lost power. Let's all just keep we're just going to keep hanging out here. I think he's going to come back. I have full confidence. Let's see here what happens. Y'all, isn't that the way that it happens, right? There, oh, okay. So he's logging out and he's probably coming back in. So I'm just gonna hang out here and talk to you guys. Isn't that the way it happens? He's been down there for a couple days and he's been down there since Monday and everything's good until he's ready to do this. He's gonna be so upset. He's gonna come back on in just a minute. He'll be here. So he's gonna keep going through the process here of being the marketing agent. So let's see if he comes back in. I think I've got his presentation too. I can always pick it up where he left off. So let me go ahead, everybody, just keep hanging out. Don't go anywhere. And I'm going to keep moving and shaking here. That's right. We want him to be safe. Okay. Oh, and so Michelle, you have somebody that's down in Venice riding out the storm and keeps FaceTiming you. Absolutely. So let me see if I can get over here to his presentation and I'm going to pick it up. I haven't heard from him yet. So I have it right here and I'm going to pick up where he was leaving off. Maybe. Yeah, here we go. Oh, here he comes. Jim Cantori coming to us live. Let's see here. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Oh, wait, go ahead, unmute. That was funny. Oh, go ahead and unmute for us, Mark.
Sorry, there we go.
That was, how about that? Did you just lose power?
Of course.
How
Sorry.
about that? Everybody was over here saying, stay safe, Mark, stay safe. I was getting
You
ready
guys
to
are very sweet, but we're gonna jump right back in, okay? We're not gonna
How
miss a
about
beat.
that, Mark? You're there for, this is what, day 3, and then storms coming through, everything's great. And then you lose power right as the getting was good. So are you on your MiFi now?
No, I can't get a good enough connection off of that, but we're good. We're gonna come right back to this, and we're gonna be good.
Okay. And if
All
you
right.
need to, so Mark, another thing that you may need to do is if you need to turn off your camera to help with your Wi-Fi, then you certainly, I think everybody will be okay with that.
All
So
right.
I'm here. So I'm here to pick things up if I need to.
All right, cool. All right, let's keep moving. We're just gonna talk first about merchandising, because as I said before we broke, setting expectations with the seller is so important, okay? Setting those expectations, so important. Now, let's talk about merchandising. Notice this is different from marketing. We're gonna talk about marketing last, but the first thing we're gonna talk about is after we get back to normal and you become a marketing agent, not a listing agent, then we're gonna start talking about the condition of the property. And you all have been to model homes. You know how important condition is and how important it is. So we look at paint, we look at carpet, we look at all of the things. I like to say, are there trees growing out of the gutters? And if that's the case, how do we fix that? All kinds of different things that you've got to look at. And as you're walking through the house with the seller, literally making notes on a piece of paper or on your phone, making notes of the things that the seller needs to do to get the property in great condition. Then we're going to spend a couple minutes this afternoon talking about staging. And, you know, oftentimes in the past 2.5 years, we haven't worried about staging. I don't have to stage it, it sells. We're going to talk about decluttering and depersonalizing, which are different, okay? And then we're going to talk about dramatizing, which happens to be my favorite. And then finally, we're going to talk about marketing and then day one marketing, which is so important. But oftentimes that seller's like, we got to go live. We got to go live. I want it in the MLS. I want it in the MLS. And oftentimes there could be days or weeks of work to do before that day one marketing, which is when it hits live in the MLS. So let's start with conditioning. And these are the words that I would use. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we should never introduce your home to this market without proper conditioning. So in the past, so go ahead and write those words down. We should never introduce your home to the market without proper conditioning. So in the past, we haven't had to worry about all the things that are on this list. The last 2.5 years, sellers didn't have to paint. They didn't have to clean or replace carpet. They didn't worry about landscape maintenance and making sure that the bushes are all perfectly trimmed and pulled back away from the house. They didn't worry. They weren't concerned with front entry flooring and the tough one, general cleaning. I mean, how do you tell somebody, gee, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, I love you, but your house is a pig pen. We didn't talk about, by the way, I'm a garage guy, so garages are important to me. Come on, Power, hang in there. I think it's important that garages be decluttered and cleaned out and they look organized. Gutters, told you before, the trees that are growing out of the gutters and the indication that that is of deferred maintenance. And how important is it that we don't communicate a deferred maintenance issue to a buyer when they're looking at the property? We've talked often about exterior pressure washing, especially like vinyl siding that gets mold or mildew on it. But I don't want you to forget about roof washing. And I learned this from a luxury agent years ago, where there's actually a very environmental friendly chemical that a company can spray on a roof that has like all that the black lines that tend to stream down, mostly from sap from a pine tree or something. But you can wash a roof, and it's ecologically friendly. And as rain then washes off that chemical, it flows out of the gutters, and the roof looks brand new. The bottom line is this: does that property look like a model home? Is it conditioned like a model home? Then I want to talk about staging. When you walk into a model home, there's not an abundance of furniture, but there's not a scarcity of furniture. Okay. So when we talk about staging, I think that staging is the rearranging or the addition of furniture. Some people say, well, staging is also the removal of furniture. And we're going to talk about that shortly when we talk about decluttering. But staging to me is about making sure that you have the right furniture in the right place so that the house looks like a home and that the buyer can envision themselves living there. I want you to think of a model home that doesn't have two bedside tables next to a bed. It has one bedside table. And it has not three dressers in a living room, or all of the staging that gets done to make the home look spacious. It's very important. Now, I often get asked the question, well, who pays for the staging? I would tell you, and it may depend. It may depend on, are you getting a 5% listing or 6% listing? It may depend upon whether you think the sellers are going to be easy to work with or hard to work with. It may depend on whether you have a 6-month listing agreement or a 2-month listing agreement. But personally, I'm in favor of the agent paying for the stager. I think that that's part of the services that we should provide. We pay for the photographer, which is critically important. Why would we not also pay for the stager? I think that the stager is a better investment of your money than an ad in the real estate book, for example. Not that I would ever recommend that you do that, but the print media advertising that we no longer do, that investment of your time and money into the property could perhaps be invested into a stager. But I do think that staging is a very important part of the merchandising and the marketing of the property, which obviously must be done prior to going live in the MLS. We're going to finish with that comment. Decluttering. So I want you to think of all the stuff that's in a house. So these are the words. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it is important that your home look as spacious as possible. I remember when my wife Mary Beth and I sold a house in Charlotte, my wife loved to collect little knickknacks. And you believe me, you knew wherever we visited because there was something, some sort of a knickknack from that location. And I remember I had great Alan Tate agent that came in and she said, okay, we need to get rid of all of the stuff so that the people, the buyers, remember the house. So decluttering. So think when you walk through a builder's model home, you don't see a blender or a mixer or probably not even a coffee pot. You don't see a toaster. You don't see any of those things on a bathroom counter in a model home. And I think we've got to coach sellers similarly on resale homes. When you walk into the builder's model and you walk into any of the bathrooms, especially the primary bathroom, you don't see hair dryers and makeup and deodorant and toothpaste and cups and soap. You don't, in the shower, you don't see shampoo and conditioner and cream. You don't see all that stuff. And I think when it comes to decluttering, we've got to make sure that sellers understand, get a little Tupperware thing, put all that stuff in it that you would need in the bathroom and put it underneath the bathroom sink. Then when you need it, pull it out. And then in the morning when you leave, put it away. And the same thing with appliances on kitchen counters. So I want you to also think of knickknacks around the house when you look at garages or basements and also closets. So we're coming into fall and winter. Let's get rid of the spring and summer clothes. Go ahead and put them in the wardrobe boxes. Maybe store them in a pod or an offsite storage facility. But let's clean out those closets and get them decluttered so that when a buyer opens those closet doors, they say, wow, look at how big the closet is. They don't say, wow, look at all the clothes. And I think that's really important. Next concept is depersonalizing. The words that sellers should hear, write these down. Let's be sure the buyer remembers the house and not the. So depersonalizing, I remember my favorite story on depersonalizing. Back in the early 80s, I went to Clemson University down in South Carolina. And I was a huge Clemson fan. And during that period of time, there were two brothers, William Perry and his brother, Michael Dean Perry. Some of you may remember William Perry as the refrigerator. And they both played in the NFL. I remember Michael Dean Perry was putting his property on the market in Lake Norman in Charlotte. And I walked down, I was previewing the house. One of our agents had listed it and I went over to take a look at it. And when you walk down to the lake level, it was like a museum to his football career. There was the Clemson jersey that they played the University of Nebraska in the national championship game. There were Cleveland Brown jerseys and Cleveland Brown helmets. And you remembered all the stuff. And it just made it very personal. Okay. So I would suggest that we talk to sellers, and this is a tough conversation and I get it, but to say we want the buyer to remember the house. So this is another issue where politics and religion. So I think it's tough when there's a great big Trump flag. I don't care about your political preference, and I'm not making a political statement. But when there's a Trump flag in the front yard. That's very personal. Now, God bless you guys if you're willing to go tell the seller, go ahead and take down the Trump flag. That might be a battle you don't want to choose, but think of things that are very personal that we don't want sellers to display because the buyers remember the stuff and not the house. Okay. Dramatizing this is my favorite one. And where you can write these words down. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we've got to make sure that the house oozes emotion. So I want you to think that emotion is, what do I hear when I walk through the house? What do I see? And what do I smell? The senses are the emotions. So let's first talk about, what do I see? So when I walk through the house, do I see the dining room table set for Thanksgiving dinner, for example? Because the emotion that that brings out, the emotion of, I envision myself living in this house. Or think of, a lot of times you've got kitchen counters now that are really breakfast rooms, and that's where you would eat breakfast. So having the sellers dramatize the house by putting a placemat or two placemats side by side with a little saucer and a cereal bowl on top of that, and a little juice glass and a little spoon. And what you're doing is you're setting the stage for buyers to imagine themselves having breakfast at the kitchen counter. And those kind of things that people would see when they walk in the house. I'm a big fan of saying, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when you leave in the morning, even if we don't have an appointment, let's make sure that all the lights are on. Because I don't want buyers walking into a dark house because they're not going to see the house in its best light. What about fresh flowers? Kitchen table, kitchen counters. Don't forget bathroom counters. You can buy fresh flowers at Publix for $15. Cut flowers, put them in 3 or 4 different vases, and now you've got fresh flowers around the house. Pots of flowers at the front door, the big pots. And making sure that this time of the year is the time that you would pull out the impatiens and the geraniums, and you would be putting in pansies. Okay, well, let's go ahead and plant the pansies early this year. And let's have pansies beautifully set in the front, at the front door, and then also on the back patio. Speaking of the back patio, do we dramatize the table on the back patio? And we put 2 wine glasses and an empty bottle of wine. Never, ever, ever put a full bottle of wine out there that's unopened, because it's going to get warm, it's going to go bad, and that's called alcohol abuse. If you put an empty bottle of wine with 2 glasses, these buyers can envision themselves relaxing in the backyard after work, after a long day, and making sure that they understand this is where you chill. Okay. Never, ever, ever with a full bottle of wine. Other things that you should think about. Let's talk about, what do I hear? So a story I like to tell is in Jupiter, Florida, is kind of the lifestyles of the rich and famous community. And this is where, like, Serena Williams, Venus Williams, Tiger Woods, a lot of professional athletes live in this little town called Jupiter, Florida. So Jack Nicklaus, the golfer, who also has the nickname of the Golden Bear. So Jack Nicklaus created or developed a community called the Bears Club in Jupiter, Florida. The challenge is that it's built right on the Florida Turnpike. Really, really busy, noisy road. So obviously, the average sale price of the Bears Club is probably $10 million, and nobody's going to spend that kind of money and hear the Florida Turnpike. So in order to overcome the noise of the cars on the Florida Turnpike, they have put waterfall features everywhere in the community. So now the only thing that you hear in the neighborhood is water flowing. So let's move that into our marketplace. Let's move it into our footprint. Oftentimes we've got a house that's on the corner of a busy street, or that backs onto a busy street. So how do we disguise some traffic noise, road noise? Or what if the neighbors have dogs and they're outside a lot and they're noisy? How do we disguise that noise? Well, that's called dramatizing. So I would suggest that perhaps a device outside that would play music would be good in order to drown out some of the noise that you're competing with that is less desirable. I'm a big fan of music on the inside of the house also. You often get asked the question, well, what kind of music? And a variety of jazz, soft rock, soft country. I think probably anything other than AC/DC works well. But playing music in the house so that the buyers think of, what is it like to live here? And it's not always normal to be living in a perfectly quiet house. Odors. So let's talk about the last, what do I smell? All the senses. We talked about what do I hear, what do I see? Now let's talk about what do I smell? When I walk into a house and it clearly has a lot of scent to it that has been introduced. So think of plugins, you know, those things that you plug into the wall and they smell. My immediate reaction is, okay, what do you cover it up? So to me, the best scent in a house is no scent. I don't smell anything when I walk into the house. So the only time that I would introduce a scent intentionally is to cover up a bad scent. And obviously the two bad scents that you cover up are either pets or smoke. It's hard to remove those scents, especially smoke. So smoke, it ends up in the paint, it ends up in the upholstery, it ends up in curtains, carpet. It's really hard to get rid of a scent like smoke. That's the only time I would actually recommend that you introduce a scent, is to overcome a worse scent. So then you get asked the question, well, what kind of scent should I introduce? Should it be baking cookies, or should it be something like vanilla? Ugh, vanilla. Ugh. So I remember when my wife and I, when we used to look at properties, if I walked in a house and there was a scent of vanilla, I would say to our realtor, look, you two walk through the house together. And if you like it enough that I should come in and see it, come out and get me, and I'll try to hold my breath long enough to get through a house that smells like vanilla, because I hate the smell of vanilla. So try to get something that is very neutral. Something like that would smell like fabric softener, like a really cool fabric softener, but try to avoid introducing a scent that's really strong. Okay. But bottom line is that any activity, look at the last bullet, any activity that pleases the senses is considered dramatizing. What do I see? What do I smell? And what do I hear is all dramatizing. Okay. So now that we got through all of that, now let's talk about actually marketing the property. Before we talk about the activities of marketing, and marketing starts when you go live in the MLS, because all of the Allen Tate systems and many of the systems that you use as a realtor are based upon MLS entry, because you need that MLS number. First of all, you never arrange the photographer until everything that we've talked about thus far has been completed. How long could that take? Take days, could take weeks. If it's a hoarder house, could take months. But I would never start my marketing before I have all of that stuff finished. So conditioning, decluttering, dramatizing, all of that's got to be done before go live. Now, here's the problem. Our MLSs, in their brilliant wisdom, have decided that it's a great idea that you have to put it in the MLS within 1 day of the seller signing the listing agreement, unless it is a firm exclusive listing. So write these words down. I'm going to recommend that you, hang on one second. Hang on just 1 second. Hang on just one more second. Okay, hope that's it. Sorry, as Maggie said, this is a first. We've never done this in a hurricane before. So here's the rule, and write down these words, please. Every listing should start, and underline the word start, as a firm exclusive. Every listing should start as a firm exclusive. And I mean every listing. Now, the purpose of firm exclusive, hear me loud and clear, this is really important. The purpose of firm exclusive is not that you sell your own listing before it goes in the MLS. And the purpose is not that Allen Tate sells it before it goes in the MLS. That's what the bad agents do, is they make it a firm exclusive so we sell our own listings. Now, if that happens to work out that way, I'm all fine with it, but that's not my goal. My goal is that you do not go live with a listing in the MLS with a property that is not ready for market. So the alternative to make a firm exclusive is that the seller either did not yet sign the listing agreement, or that the listing agreement has some future date as the beginning date, both of which don't protect
Oh, looks like we lost him again. Maggie told me that he has already popped out once, so we'll wait for him to come back on. He just exited my screen, so we'll just hang tight till he pops back on. Probably something to do with that emergency message he was getting. Oh, he's logging back in.
Okay, are we good? Natalie, are we good?
You're back.
All right, let's try it one more time. We're getting to the home run. That's the good news, okay? All right, so come back here and we're gonna talk about, come on, load. All right, are we still good?
Still says loading for me.
All right.
I'm not
Bring it
seeing
up.
you, but that sometimes you get better voice connection if you're not video.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you. It still looks like your screen is loading.
All right. Let me see, raise your help see now. All right, well, good to know when it comes up. So from exclusive, so every list starts as from exclusive. Now, protect you, the job of branch leaders to protect you, the job to protect your feet, okay? So, protect your valid listing. South Carolina and South Carolina.
Oh. Well, he just, I was just about to tell him that he was breaking up. And it looks like he got booted off again. So we'll see if we can get this. I like it, Robo Mark. We'll see if he pops back on. I think I might tell him to keep his video off, and that might help with his audio. If we can get back up and running. Progressive Zoom commercial. Hang on. Mark, if you can hear me, sometimes keeping your video off can help the audio go smoother. So maybe we can try that this time. You're there. Ooh, well, your screen's coming through really clear now. So.
Okay, are you good now?
Yep.
All right, so here we go. Firm exclusives, so important. Every listing starts as firm exclusive. After you're ready, then what you do is in the listing agreement, you change it from firm exclusive over to the MLS. It says MLS entry, but that is just so important. And I really want that to be one of your key takeaways. Every listing starts as firm exclusive. And then when you're ready to go in the MLS, you bring the listing agreement back to the seller and you say, okay, now that we're ready to go live in the MLS, let's make the change in the listing agreement. So we cross out the firm exclusive option. We check the box that says MLS entry. The seller initials and dates that change to the listing agreement. And then when you put it in the MLS, this is real important, so listen close. The list date in the MLS is your entry date into the MLS, not the effective date of the listing agreement. So if you listed the property, quote unquote, listed it, meaning that the seller signed the listing agreement on September 15th, but you put it in the MLS on September 28th, your MLS list date is September 28th, today's date, the day you do the input into the MLS. Because once you put it in the MLS, all of our systems start to work. So the first system that starts to work is we go into 10,000 websites. Now that's an average number. Those of you in the Charlotte market, that's 25,000. Those of you in the Highlands market, which is very small, that's 5,000. But that's all the IDX websites. So that's all the firm websites, agent websites. That's your agent website. There's 2,000 of those. Okay. So those are all of the websites. And an important number here, write this number down, 70 countries. You market properties in over 70 countries. And that is a critical thing that sellers need to hear. Maggie started this. What are the words we need to tell the sellers? As a seller, I market your property in over 70 countries. Next 4 words I'd ask you to write down, really important words. My global marketing plan. 4 really important words. My global marketing plan includes marketing in over 70 countries on over 10,000 websites. Those of you in Charlotte and the Canopy MLS, 25,000 websites because of the size of the MLS. I'm a big believer that we should be doing open houses again. Don't forget, we've got the big open house weekend coming up in 2 weeks, company-wide. That's going to be a great event. It's a great way to go get listings right now. Tell sellers, look, you list with me today, I can get you in the open house event on October 16th and 17th. What an opportunity, okay? Using that to get listings and using that to get sellers to commit to you today because we need time to get the property ready for an open house. I'm a huge believer in doing open houses. I don't think you're going to sell that property at the open house, but I do think that you're going to have the opportunity to engage neighbors at the open house. And really what you're looking for is more listings. When you do an open house, I think it should be 3 hours. I think that the hour before the open house should be nothing other than knocking on doors of the neighbors, handing them one of those quantum digital brochures and telling them, inviting them to the open house so that they come and they meet you and you have the opportunity to build a relationship with one of those neighboring sellers. So important. And open houses are so critical. I'm a big believer. Don't forget about the just listed postcards. Now there's a question. So the just listed postcards are facilitated by the company automatically. Nothing you have to do. All you have to do is click the box when you get the email from Quantum that says, yes, I want the just listed postcards. So important. Just listed postcards. And by the way, don't take 50. Do 250, especially if that property is in a neighborhood where you want more listings. I love flyer boxes. So here's a secret about flyer boxes. This is that little Allen Tate brochure box or flyer box that you put outside near the street. I love that. I like not just putting flyers in it, put a QR code and use that see-through tape, the waterproof see-through tape, and put the QR code and tape it to the front of the flyer box. It's going to look really nice. It won't look cheesy. It won't look trashy. It's just going to look like a little QR code has been affixed with see-through tape, not Scotch tape because it's going to fall off, but like clear packing tape. And the QR code that you make takes someone who scans that QR code and it takes them to the property detail page on your Allen Tate website. What an opportunity for the neighbors to say, not only did you provide, or the drive-by traffic who picks up the flyers, not only have you given me a flyer on the property, but you gave me a resource that with my phone, I can scan a QR code and now I can see 40, 50, 60 pictures of that property, not just the 4 or 5 that you can put on a piece of paper and put in the flyer box. So I love flyers done appropriately, especially if you can use a QR code. I think that's the one good thing that came from COVID. It's the fact that we got used to using QR codes again. Next thing is the digital ads, Facebook digital ads, AdWords digital ads. Don't forget, make sure you write this down if you're not already doing it. Put the seller's email address in the back end of the system on AdWords. And the seller's ad is going to follow them all the way around the internet on all their websites. And they're going to see all the advertising that you are doing on their behalf through the AdWords campaign. Don't forget that that's company paid. 7,000 impressions. I would write that number down. Sellers need to hear it. Words need to come out of your mouth and take credit for it. Don't say Allen Tate does it. Say, I'm going to buy 7,000 impressions for what are known as real estate intenders. Well, what's a real estate intender? The last person that you would want to see your ad through the AdWords campaign is the 8-year-old in the house next door that is watching a gaming video. Real estate intenders are, by the way, remember that the internet, the glory of the internet is that it knows all the types of websites that you visit. So by the way, I'd be careful what kind of websites you visit. But a real estate intender is one who has visited a real estate website like AlanCake.com or Realtor.com, or a mortgage website or a moving company website. If the internet, through the cookies on your machine, has tracked the fact that you are on those types of websites, it notices that you are what is known as a real estate intender, and that is the audience that sees your AdWords ad. The same person might see your ad more than one time. And that's the difference between impressions and people. I love when the same person, a real estate intender, sees the ad for your listing 4 or 5 times. I think that's a great strategy because it's multiple impressions to the same audience. Okay. All right, let's go to the next screen, and then we're going to wrap up with one more. Professional photography, every listing, no matter what. I can't tell you how frustrated I get when I see photos, typically not of Allen Tate listings, but of our competitors' listings with iPhone photos. Seriously? It's now become the point where aerial photography and video is critical. You must be doing aerial drone photography and video, and most of the photographers, as you guys know, do all 3 of the programs. They do still shots, drone shots, and video, all with the same vendor, all at the same time, and the prices have come way down to make sure you're doing that. I'm going to show you this. Hopefully I can get it on my screen okay. This is one of my favorite tools. This is a brochure. The templates are already built. This is ordered through Quantum Digital. This is 8.5 by 11. I want you to look at how thick this is. This is not copy paper. This is card stock paper. It opens up to 11 by 17. And then on the back side includes all of your branding, okay? The templates are already built. Once you get used to doing this, so the first time it'll take you about 20 minutes to create this. Second time, it'll take you about 10 minutes to create it. And the third time and thereafter, it'll take you about 5 minutes to create it. If you've never created one of these, I would suggest, and if you don't have, if you've never created one and you do have a listing, create it now. They're about 80, 90 cents a piece. Go ahead and order 50. It'll cost you 45 bucks. Order 100, it'll cost you 90 bucks. They're done through Quantum Digital. You can get them in 2 days. If you have a listing, do it on that listing now. If you don't have a listing yet, then you do it. Oh, I didn't realize they do this. Hold on. Make sure you see this really well. I forgot I was still screen sharing. All right. So this is so important. Okay. If you have had listings in the past, I would suggest that you do them on your prior listings because you need samples of this material to walk into a seller with. I would suggest that you walk into a seller with as many as 4 or 5 of these, and you put them down on that kitchen table, and you start talking to sellers about how you're going to market their property through the use of a brochure like this. I would have samples of that flyer box brochure we talked about. I would have samples of your in-house brochure so that sellers really do know exactly the kind of work that you do. So professional brochures through Quantum, 100% critical. Now, some of you on this call might say, I've never had a listing. Create that Quantum brochure and do it on the house that you own right now. Do one on the neighbor's house, even though they're not for sale, but have samples of that kind of material. Okay, next one, broker open house. So important. Here's my suggestion to you. Don't invite every agent in MLS. They're going to come for your free food and your free booze. Invite your office. Invite a neighboring or a nearby Allen Tate office that's not your office. And invite agents that have listings in that neighborhood or have had sold listings in that neighborhood. And invite agents who have had buy-side transactions in that neighborhood. The opportunity is now you're inviting the target audience of brokers, agents, who are to be the likely ones who will sell that property. And make sure they know this is invitation only. And if it's invitation only, they show up because it's special, okay? Print ads, I'm not a fan of print ads except in the luxury space. Over 800,000, over 1 million, there's an expectation of the seller for print ads, but less than that, I'm not recommending print ads. I would invest that money into better photography and better brochures, okay? All right, we're coming down the home stretch. Hang on, power, just 5 more minutes. Now, we finally got everything done. We got the photography done. We've got all the conditioning, dramatizing, staging, decluttering, everything's done. Now, let's finally get to what's known as day one marketing. Oh, just one more thing. This brochure I talked about, order that before it goes in the MLS, because I want these available at your broker open house and your public open house. The day it goes in the MLS, there's a whole bunch of great things that happen. Number one, there are eight.
Yep, it looks like, I feel like he is frozen in the exact same position of the first time that he froze up. Looks like he's getting back on for that
All
final
right.
slide.
5 more minutes and we're going to let you go. Thank you for hanging in. I can't thank you guys enough for hanging in with me through this. All right. We're almost done. Okay. So let's go to this and we are right back to it. Day one marketing, all those things that happen on day one. So agents who are subscribed to the MLS systems, they get notified by an MLS process called a hot sheet. And you don't want to list notified by their buyer agents, or our buyers get notified by our agents out that this list came on the market. Well, it's got to look perfect. It can't be less than perfect in this market. IDX website notifications. Think of like Realtor.com or systems that notify buyers. Okay, this is the listing for you. Okay. And the last concept I wanted to leave with you, it's most important, the concept of the piranha. So, stop sharing because this will be better. So, some of you.
Oh, it didn't like him stopping to share. Here he comes again. Hopefully to finish strong.
Piranhas. No. Oh, okay, we're almost there. Ron, can you hear me okay? Please tell me you can hear me okay.
Yep, can hear you again.
All right. Yes or no? Okay,
Yes.
good. So piranhas swimming around the fish tank. We're going to break right after this. Okay. And if you've ever watched somebody drop like a piece of bait fish into a piranha tank and the piranhas go crazy after it. What if the piranha doesn't like the bait, the fish, the food, and they just spit it out? And they say, no, thanks. So I want you to think right now that the piranhas are buyers and they're swimming around in the fish tank and a new listing gets dropped in to the market. And the buyer looks at that new listing and the buyer says, ugh, orange carpet, green shag wall, orange shag carpeting, green walls, and it's got clutter everywhere, and they spit it out and they reject that property. Now, sure enough, a week later, a listing agent goes in and puts new photos, up to date, makes it look pretty, but the damage is already done. The buyers have already rejected the property because it was put on the market without being properly conditioned, properly staged, properly dramatized, properly decluttered, and then properly marketed. You've got to do all of those things in order to get the property sold in this normal market. So I asked you to write down a lot of things. We went through a lot of restarts, and I apologize for that. Really appreciate you guys sticking with me to the end. But I'm really serious. This is most important. You are not a listing agent. You're a marketing agent. Listing agents were able to survive 2.5 years because the market was good to them. Listing agents will fail in the new normal balanced market. Marketing agents will thrive in this new normal balanced market. The market is not softening. Write those words down. The market is not softening. The market is not getting bad. The market is getting normal. And it's normal for a property to take 60 and sometimes 90 days to sell. And that's normal. The market that we've been in for the past 2.5 years is abnormal. All we're doing is getting back to our normal market. So with that, I thank you guys. I appreciate your attention. I hope you walk away with 2 or 3 good ideas. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience with my little power issues. And appreciate all you guys being here this afternoon. Congratulations to you all for investing your time. Professional development, you guys, I'm going to hand it back to you, or I'm going to end it. I guess I'll just end it. But thank you, everybody. Enjoy the weather up there because it's a lot better than it is down here.